Hi everyone, I just finished the YouTube live that I do on my other channel. I'll put a link to that in the description of this video if you have not seen those. We talk about selling online on Etsy, specifically Etsy on Tuesdays every week, and that's a live Q&A with other Etsy sellers. So you can go look at that. But during that, I said, does anyone want a kind of a high level view of Pinterest and how to use that? And everybody said yes. Well, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people did. So I'm going to do this off the cuff. I'm going to post it. And if you have any questions, just post them. But I do have a full Pinterest class, and the link for that is in the description of this video. It's in my Teachable classroom. They call it a classroom. I'll link out the Pinterest class separately. And I also sell keyword lists for Pinterest in my digital shop on Etsy. Now, the reason that I mentioned this in the live is that I don't think that people know how important keywords are on Pinterest. And Pinterest is a search engine. It's not social media. It started out as social media when it was first starting. And I've been on Pinterest since the very beginning. And I remember the olden days when you had to go in and interact with people's posts and you had to say, oh, I love this. You don't have to do that anymore. So you might pin for 10 years and never get anyone comment on anything. It's funny though, because people do comment on posts sometimes. Okay, so you may or may not, but it's really not social media, it's a search engine. And because of that, you have to treat it like a search engine. And just be aware that when you go to your website or your Go Imagine shop or your Etsy shop or wherever, and you just click pin and you post that directly to Pinterest without making an effort, it's not the best use of your time, because depending on what Pinterest decides to pull from that page to show as the title and the description, that pin might just sit in your account and it'll never be seen because it might not be pulling anything, or it might be pulling things that you don't think are going to show up. A lot of times when I pin directly from, or when Pinterest pulls something directly from my website, it'll show up as no title at all on it. And the description is the title of that listing or the pin or whatever, the image or whatever it is. So it's very strange. And you really need to take the time to go in and create pins that lead to pages on your website or your Etsy shop. It's a little tricky with Etsy. I'll explain that in a minute. But you want to make an effort so that the image is interesting for people. And it's not just the little rectangular listing photo, because that's not good. Pinterest likes vertical images that is a 2:3 ratio. And you can either make them 1,000 by 1,500 or 1,200 by 1,800, but that's the best sizes to make them. It fits on a phone better. Pinterest likes them. It doesn't mean that they will not show rectangular pictures, but they prefer the 2:3 aspect ratio. So just remember that. And you need to really take the effort to do a little keyword research to find out where your listing fits on Pinterest. The problem that a lot of people have is that they just post the item and that's it. And I'll go into their account and they're like, I'm not getting any traffic. And I go in and all it is pictures of listings. It's just listing photos and that's all. And that doesn't work well on Pinterest because you need to give people a reason to click the image. Sometimes just a picture of the listing will be fine. But most of the time you want to do something that has text on it because that gives people a reason to actually click the image. And then as far as the keywords go, Pinterest looks at the picture to see what the thing is. It looks at the text on the picture. It looks at the title and it looks at the description. But it also follows the link that you're linking to, and it goes to the page and looks at the page to see what keywords are on the page, right? I don't think people realize that, but it does happen. And you can see it because there's a way that you can see the tags that Pinterest assigns to pins once it goes back and kind of categorizes them. And a lot of times those words that it assigns are nowhere on the pin except on the page that you're linking to. So Pinterest does go and actually look at the page that you're linking to see if this is a good fit. And does it make sense that this pin goes to this page? And if everything lines up, then you have a better chance of your pin being seen by more people. So the way that Pinterest kind of works is a lot of people will go to Pinterest and search for something, and then Pinterest will find your pin based on the keywords or based on the activity on the pin. Okay, so when you pin a pin to a board in your account, you want to make sure that the board has keywords too, because Pinterest assumes that the pin is on the board that is relevant to the pin, and that there's a relationship between the board and the pin. So it's looking at the pin keywords, it's looking at the board keywords, it's looking at what the person just clicked on and what they searched for. It looks at what they click on next and what they've looked at in the past 3 or 4 pins that they've looked at. There's a lot going on, and it's a lot more complicated than you think. So the main thing to remember is that when you're doing your keywords for Pinterest, it's very matchy. Okay, Pinterest is not as free form as you think. It does pull things up that are not exact matches as far as the word order goes. But if you can get a good word order and put that in your pin, title, description on the page that it's going to, and maybe the text in the photo also, then you have a better chance of showing up for searches for that specific word order. So let's say I'm searching for little black dress, okay? And somebody has a pin that has black dress in it, but not little. That pin could still show up, but if I have a pin that says little black dress, I have a better chance of showing up ahead of that other one. So it is very word order match. And if you have plurals and singular versions of things, Pinterest it does actually match better to those. It doesn't ignore plurals. There's a lot of stuff that goes on, but just make sure that you have keywords that you have researched, put them in your title, description, on the pin itself, because it does read the text on the pins, and try to put it on the page that you want to send people to. Now, I mentioned that it doesn't work, like Etsy is a little tricky. And the reason is that Etsy has what's referred to as a catalog of products that it has uploaded to Pinterest. There's a feed that gets pulled from Etsy to Pinterest. And basically what happens is if you link to something on Etsy, you're linking to an account that's Etsy's account on Pinterest, and Pinterest says, okay, that's Etsy's pin, or that's Etsy's page. That belongs to Etsy because it's in their catalog. So if you're going to link to your Etsy account, one way around that is to link to sections in your shop as opposed to the individual listing. And that also helps if you run out of something. If you sell out of something, then you'll be sending people to the section in your shop and they can see other things if you don't have that original thing that's in the first picture. So there's a lot of tricks you can do, but you have to understand that when you're pinning directly from Etsy, you're helping Etsy's Pinterest account, because Pinterest sees that people are going to Etsy and they're pinning from Etsy to Pinterest, and they're not seeing that that's your shop because they're seeing that that's Etsy. It's Etsy shop. It's not your shop as far as Pinterest is concerned. So the best practice is to make your own image for Pinterest 2x3, put good keywords on the pin, on the title, on the description, and put it on the page that you're linking to. And then also don't link directly to listings on Etsy if you can help it. Use the sections, and that way it'll avoid having that weird stuff pulled in based on the Etsy catalog. That's rich pins. That's a different situation. But you have to understand how everything is connected. And if you want to take my full Pinterest class, again, the link's in the description, just check out my Pinterest keyword lists and use some of those if one of them applies to your products or your service or whatever you're doing. But use them in the exact word order and do your keyword research and then decide what you're going to put on the pin. Don't just randomly choose something. Go in and make sure that whatever you're pinning actually has the right keywords in it, and you're going to have a better chance of being found on Pinterest. Okay, leave me any questions. I will talk to you later.